my story at 46, when I feel like the Lord finally came into my heart. So I feel like I have to start somewhere. And what made me me, comes from childhood, I think, too. So I'll take a brief through my childhood so you know how I got to be where I am. I was born in California in 1974. My dad was in the Marines. I was born to an 18-year-old lady who had an 11-month-old baby. So I was baby number 2 at 18. She married at 15, had my sister at 17, and me at 18. By the time she was 19, before she was 20, my folks were divorced. Mom came back to western Montana, northern Idaho, kind of somewhere in that area is where she was from. Very young, very, very young. She didn't give us up. She did what she could with what she knew how to do. I'm not going to say my childhood was poor, but it was very poor. I don't remember. I know there was men that came and went. My youngest memory of a man in my mom's life would have been her second husband. She spent 14 years with him, and she had one son with him, who's my baby brother. He was extremely abusive. He broke her teeth out at mid-20s, and then he busted her dentures at 30. So in all of this, us kids were exposed to all of this kind of life. We didn't know what was right or what was wrong, and what, in a relationship, what is it supposed to be like for a man and a wife? Very abusive man. She was afraid to leave him. Of course, any woman that has been through that knows that, it's harder than what it seems emotionally to get out of a circumstance like that. So my mom met Ron, who is her current husband. They have been together for nearly 30 years. Let's see, I was a freshman in high school when Mom and Dale divorced. And so up until that time, from 5 years old until 14, 15-ish area, that's all we knew as kids. Mom was working in the bars, and Dale would go get drunk, and he'd drink up all of her wages. So the more she worked, the more he'd drink. No one was ever home. My sister and I were kind of raising ourselves at 5 and 6 years old in a very abusive home. Very poor. When I say dirt floor poor, I mean dirt floor poor. I can remember as a child, we'd dig potatoes out of fields. I don't think her husband ever had a hunting license, but we always had deer. So he wasn't a law-abider. He was an alcoholic and extremely abusive. The whole family on that side were very abusive. Mom knew it, but she wanted a son, and that family was throwing boys, as I know it sounds like horse talk, but they were throwing more boys, and so she thought she could get a son, and then she got pregnant, and he's like, no, we're going to get married. So that's how that happened for 14 years. My sister and I, we were always really close. We're Siamese twins, is that what you call it?
Irish twins.
Irish twins, there you go. Yeah, so we're Irish twins, and we were always very, very close. So, I had her back, she had mine. We would try and protect our little brother from a lot of the abuse that was going on in the home. There's stories, and I could tell them all, but my sister and I, through those years, were sexually molested by a couple people that were brought into the home. I don't want to go into details because I try not to include her, but when I say we, it's because we grew up and it was like a we. Her and I were like connected. We never did anything apart. So if I went through something, she had also gone through it. We were just together. At that time, we were really young, and we had brought it to the attention of our mom and her husband, and it was kind of blown off. It was like, no, it's not right, you're just being little kids. And so the abuse went on for a while. until we moved, and then we went to a new place, and there was another friend that was introduced to us. And then I remember one time at a young age, a big black deaf guy, I'm not racist, but I'm telling you, to a 6-year-old kid, a very tall black man who can't hear you, so you're like telling him no, I remember that black man, and I remember telling him, no, you can't touch me like that, you can't do that. So I think he was a little handicapped. I don't remember all of that. Which I've chose not to, too, because I think that as I became an adult, I didn't forget the stuff that had happened in my past, but I didn't want that to mold me to who I was. In my mind, I'm like, I'm going to be better. I don't want to be like my mom. I don't want to be like her mom. Copious relationships, in and out of beds. I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to get married and have a family, and growing up, I didn't know the Lord. My sister and I we spent one of the times that Mom had left the abusive man, we drove from Montana to Pennsylvania, where my grandparents lived, and Mom left my sister and I there, and she went back to him. And as a child, that's hard, but as an adult, I can see. I get it. I totally get it. So we stayed with Grandma and Grandpa for just over a year. My sister and I went to school there. That is when we got introduced to the Lord. My granddad, my mom's father, was a chronic alcoholic his whole life, and he had found the Lord, long before I came around, he had found the Lord. He was the sweetest old Christian man. He had the biggest ears. What a wonderful time. He took us to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. We got to sing in church with him. Some of the old Bible hymns and the Bible verses that I can remember, the kids, the Sunday school songs, that all came from Pennsylvania. So I have fond memories of my granddad. And I'm so grateful that him and his wife were able to take us in and keep us safe. So eventually we did go back to Mom. My biological father, we got to see occasionally in the summers, just depends. Quite honestly, it was when it was convenient for Mom. And I don't say this with any hate towards my mom. I don't. She did what she could. She had no guidance. Nobody taught her how to be a mom. Nobody showed her how to be a mom, to give the love and the she was very heavy-handed, demanded respect, and I think that that's important too. So at 15 years old, when my sister and I, now through the years too, I want to explain that my sister and I never went to the same school more than 1 year. First, kindergarten through senior year was always a new school, sometimes more than one school in a year. So I don't have a place that I call, where would you go to your class reunion? I don't know. I don't go to class reunions. I don't know where to go. I graduated in Blackfoot by the grace of God because, statistically, the way that I was raised, I should have been whoring around with needles in my arms. Sorry if that's offensive, but truly that's the way that I was raised. I was raised by drunks. Foul language, the GD word was a part of every conversation, like it was part of it. Mom was in construction. My dad was an iron worker and a drunk most of his life. And my dad dabbled in the drugs. That's why Mom left him. So anyway, when my sister and I hit 15, we'll just get through all that childhood stuff. We hit 15, 16 years old. We want to go spend a summer with Dad. Dad's living in Illinois at the time. We were living in Rockland. And so we head to Dad's for the summer. Well, before the summer is over, Mom has left Dale, the abusive man, and she has met Ron. It's so weird to say out loud, but it's like, you don't really realize it, but at least for me, it was like, I wanted to end a relationship, but I couldn't end one unless I had one to go to. You know what I mean? Like through the years, I couldn't not have somebody. I needed somebody to turn back on, and I think Maybe that's where it came from, I don't know. But anyway, so Mom was working for Ronnie, her husband now, and he's the one I call Pa. They met, she was working for him building the Budweiser plant south of town. And she was able to get away from the abusive man. She gave up my brother, he was 9 years old at the time. Dale threatened to kill her if she took him, so she let my brother stay. She regrets that to this day. We did get visitation with him, but he's a little off, and that's okay, I pray for him still. My sister and I went to Illinois. We spent the summer with our father. During that summertime, I'm 15 years old, and hormones are raging, and I met the love of my life. I thought. His name was Randy. I'm 15, he's 20. Dad is not happy. Oh, P.S. he has a 2-year-old son too, by the way, and I'm 15. So Dad's not happy about it, and so what do I do as a teenager? I run away. I ran away with Randy. We were gone for 4 days. I lost my virginity to him. We came back after 4 days. We went straight to the courthouse because all the cops had been looking for us. So when we got to the courthouse, the cops took me and went this way, took Randy and went that way. And that was the last time I saw the man for many, many years. After we got everything sorted out, I called my mom. Mom said, "You want to come home?" Yes, I want to come home. So I flew back here at 15, pushing 16. So it was the spring before. It was Christmas, January time. So I was 15 and a half. My sister chose to stay with Dad. I came back here. That's when I met my stepdad, Ronnie. He is super, super awesome. First positive male influence in my life. Just an amazing guy, purebred German, and he's got an attitude, but you know, he'd give you the shirt off his back. And he's still my pa. And moved in with them, started going back to school, dropped out of school a couple of times. I can't tell you, I mean, as a teenage girl, you know, I'm not proud. I cannot count on hands and toes how many people I have had sex with. I couldn't. It was like a need. It was like, you know, if I was dating somebody, it was almost like that was something that you were supposed to do to keep them happy. So it was like, just freely, give it up, give it up. And then it became like, well, that's the only way I can find my attention. It's the only way I can get the attention that I feel like I need to be who I am, is that way. And I didn't realize that until obviously I became an adult, but I think through the years of my late teens, and I think, you know, what happened to that desire to have the one husband, the one family for life? You know, let's have a lifelong, anyway, so that was like the start. Once I came back here, I was a bad teenager, got in trouble with the law, lots of debauchery and inappropriate things, just in the short 2-year time span. And that's when I met my first husband, my oldest daughter's father. He was here, ironically, he is from Illinois. And he had moved here, his family had moved here. His name was Jason. His family had moved here from Illinois to work at the INL. They were painters by trade, part of the painters union. I had quit school, and when I went back to school after getting in trouble with the law, I went back to the Second Chance School in Blackfoot, and that is where I met the brother to my first husband. The brother was the same age as me, and we were in classes together, and that's how I met his older brother, who became my first husband. Mom didn't like it. She said, "You quit seeing the boy or get out of my house." I was 16 and a half. What am I gonna do? I'm like, I'll pack my bags. So I packed my bags at 16 and a half, left home. I still tell everybody she kicked me out, and she says she didn't, but you know, it's whatever, we laugh about it now. So I left home at 16, moved in with him and his family. We were together until I was just shy of 19. We got married after 19. We got married after I got pregnant with my first baby, and that is Jessica. Got married, very abusive. I should have seen it coming. You know, after you watch it as a child, it's like, you know, I know all these signs. Why didn't I see it? Or who am I fooling, you know? So he was very abusive. I chose to, we'd gone to a concert and he had knocked me down and he had put a cigarette out on me, and so many people, strangers, were begging to take me home. Like, I will give you a ride home, you know. And I thought to myself, you know, I don't want to live like this. I don't. So he went to work and I packed up my little baby in a duffel bag when I could put everything that we could fit in, and I got on a plane and I flew back to Idaho to Mom. Because we had ended up back in Illinois. We had moved back there, and there's long stuff between that. But anyway, so I flew home back to Mom with a baby. I hated life. I mean, I hated life. So I don't know. I don't know if I wanted to play, party, or I really didn't have anybody but my daughter. And then I sent my daughter back to her dad. And I don't know why. That's one of the hardest things that I can't figure out is, how did I send her back to her dad? But I thought I wanted to get my crap together and she could be with her dad, and her grandmother they were living there. And about 3 weeks after I sent her back, I just lost it. It's like I don't have anything. There's nothing for me. So I went back to Illinois and went back to him and got my girl back. And tried to make that work for a couple more years. It didn't. So I came back to Idaho with a baby. My sister and I lived together for a while. She had her own issues, but this is my story, not hers, so I won't tell her secrets. So then I meet a gentleman in a bar here, 21. We dated for a while, just a few short weeks, and we got married on a whim. It was a dare. Friends that we had been dancing with at the bars, they're like, dude, you ought to get married. Why not? I mean, you're together all the time. We're like, no, I don't think so. Well, we dare you. All right, well, you stand up for us. I mean, within 2 days' time, it was done. We were married. Now I'm pregnant with baby number 2. That gentleman was not abusive, not really. He was kind of dumb, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, I guess. I shouldn't say that, but he just had no goals in life, I guess. His path was not following what I thought I wanted. And so we didn't work out. We divorced, and now I have 2 children from 2 different fathers with 2 divorces under my belt at 23. I'm like, this isn't how life is supposed to turn out for me, you know, because as time goes on, here comes that. It's that title. We have all talked about that woman. Do you know what I mean? You know that woman that we're talking about. I catch myself to this day. You know, I am that woman at the well. I am. And it's okay. I can admit it now. I'm not proud of it, but, you know, that was me. So marriage number 2 is down the toilets. Now I am on my own with 2 children. I am now in law enforcement. I have 23 is when I started in law enforcement. So I thought, okay, you know, I have a title, I have a status, you know. I'm not that white trash that comes out of generations and generations and generations of my family. I'm gonna be someone myself, you know. I was the first one to graduate for many generations. I wanted to be the first one to keep my own marriage, but that obviously failed fairly young. I learned as an adult now, though, and I hate to bounce around, but I do want to say that now, as an adult, I realize there's so much more meaning to a relationship than just the physical part of it. Do you know what I mean? Because my whole life, up until 2 years ago, and I can say up until 2 years ago, relationships were all about sex. I mean, they were. Now, I don't know if it was by choice or if it was the situations that I put myself in, but that's what relationships were based on. And this last relationship that I went through, I think that's partly what has opened my eyes and really turned me off to it, I think. And which is good because, you know, now that I have shut off that physical desire, there's so much more emotional connection, I think, that's available, you know, if you allow it. So anyway, it gets worse. I'm a horrible person. I'm working at the cop shop. I had several, you know, I was not ready to settle down. I think I had a desire to be somebody's wife. I needed that affirmation that I was attractive, that I was smart, that I was needed, you know, somebody needed whether it was physically needed me or intentionally or you know, in your mind or in your heart, I just needed to be needed. Messed around with some coworkers, married or unmarried, it happened, several. And then I think it became, you know, I felt like I was just a piece of meat to all these cops. You know, it was like, I don't want to say all of them. I mean, I'm like less than 5, which is still plenty, but still, you know, I just felt like, anyway, I don't know. I fell into this realm of, it was just easy to party and misbehave and just act like animals than it was to, you know, to say, you know, you need to pull your head out, Sheila. This is not what you want your life to be like. I always felt like that, you know, I had a plan and I want to be perfect and I want this to be this way, and none of that was happening, none of it. And every relationship I was in was pulling me further and further away from where I thought my life should have been. A few years go by, and I started dating the county mechanic. We actually met at the bone store, and some of you know him. Okay.
Where?
We met at the bone store. He's an amazing person, I want to say first and foremost. And I'm kind of glad he's not here so I can speak openly about him. Truly an amazing guy.
Always has been.
Yeah. So, Shane and I met 99, 98. Oh, golly, I don't remember. I started at the sheriff's office in 98, so probably around 2000. I want to say it was 2000 when we were dating. I got him a Zippo lighter and had the date on it. Anyway, we met at the bone store. We had so much alike, you know. He was adventurous and he loved the outdoors, and I'm like, I need somebody like this. You know, he liked to drink, he liked to dance, he's a smoker. I'm like, this is my guy. But he was too good for me, I think. I cheated on him. I had no reason to. Other than I needed that extra. I guess that. I don't know. I don't know to this day. That affair went on for, you know, that affair started probably 8 months after Shane and I got married. And it was on again, off again. I was torn because I loved my family and I wanted my family, but something that just kept bringing me back to that person. And it was physical, and that's all it was. It was physical, but I just couldn't stop saying, I just couldn't say no. I broke it off when I found out I was pregnant. I broke it off, the affair. Because Shane and I had been trying very hard to have a baby. he went through a lot of stuff for us to try and have a baby. So for the majority of my pregnancy, I was a good wife. I had broke it off. I was not talking to that cop anymore. I was working light duty in detectives, and that person would come in occasionally, and I would see him. And I still wanted to maintain that level of let's just be friends and coworkers. You know, my life is really good. You know, Shane and I now have what we've been trying to get, and blah blah blah. And you know, I could come up with 100 reasons why, but after Hannah was born, somehow I fell right back into the affair. And it wasn't long before Shane found out. I think that anybody who's been in a situation like that knows that it's not a matter of if you get caught, it's when. And it was time. You know, I didn't sleep good. I knew what I was doing was unacceptable. You know, I had been one of those that talked trash on other people for doing it, and here I am in the same situation. So that was a huge eye-opener to me. Not only that, but the child wasn't his. It was my affairs. So, Shane and I divorced. That child is Hannah. Shane and I divorced. I ended up marrying her biological father. And trying to make it work. You know, I'm like, I don't know what to do now. Shane and I let Shane know about, Hannah was about 3 when I let him know. And he knows all the details. Because I couldn't live with myself. That is his little girl. And that will always be his little girl. It doesn't matter where her blood is. And that was something that he's been very firm on from the very beginning. So, Shane knows that Hannah is not his biologically. Mike is the other gentleman's name. I feel like we had a decent marriage. I feel like it was more forced just because I felt like, you know, if I can't have my family with Shane, then I need to at least keep the biological father somewhere attached. I don't know what I was thinking. I'd messed up my whole life by now, you know? And now I've really screwed up. I mean, I would call Jerry Springer because this is a really good Jerry Springer story is what I'm thinking. Anyway, you know, Shane and I, we went through some rough times where we didn't talk and where we talked, and he never gave up on that little girl. And I want, I guess part of my story is that, you know, Shane is a huge part of my testimony, and I don't, Shane will say that he has been bad through the years here and there. I will tell you, I've never met a kinder man. I don't know what his bad is. We had some rough times during our divorce and during we had battled for Hannah, custody changes. We had been battling since probably right about, Hannah was born in 2008. We divorced in 2009, and I was remarried to Mike in 2011. So Now, mind you, Mike is husband number 4. And I don't say that braggingly. It's actually quite humbling. Shane and I have always shared Hannah, 1 week with him, 1 week with me. That was never going to change. There was not a very kind person in his life at the time, so I think it was about 2012, I got an attorney and I started fighting for custody because just other reasons. At that time, I kind of pushed the person that I was married to go to court with me to help fight to get my child, and on a more full-time basis and just weekends with Dad. He did it only out of my pushing, you know, because there is really no bond there. There's absolutely no emotional bond there between Hannah and that person. Even with the years that we were married and Hannah was growing up as the stepchild in that home, there's absolutely no bond. Hannah didn't know at that time that there was a genetic connection there. As time went on, there's a lot of stories that go in between all this with court and everything. But somewhere along the way, in 2016, I want to say, late 2016, remember Randy at 15 years old in Illinois? I never saw him again. He Facebook messaged me. Very kind and very respectful. Said all the right things, and we started communicating. He lived in Arkansas, so there was no connection there. We had conversations on Facebook messaging that were not deleted. I didn't delete anything. My husband at the time, Mike, found those messages and kicked me out, basically. So he said that I cheated. I communicated with a man inappropriately on a computer. Absolutely, it was cheating, but I'll give you all a little more information. 4 months prior to that, he had taken me to Cancun and we were at a swingers resort for 10 days, okay? So I'm not gonna tell you all the details, but how do you call me a cheater when you just took me to Cancun and shared me with all these people? So all of a sudden I have a private conversation with the man that took my virginity 15 years earlier, whatever, and now I'm the whore and I need to leave the home. That's okay. I'm too proud. I packed my stuff and I left. I actually, before that though, I had told Randy, I'm like, I've got to save my marriage. There's no conversations here. I don't want to talk to you. I'm going to throw away your number. Spoke with my husband, said, look, there's no more communication there. There's been no physical contact. He's in Arkansas. We're in Idaho. Let's go to counseling. I want to make this work. He's like, no. I don't think so. It's too late. So then I was like, all right. So then I turned on I hate you, I hate life, I hate everybody. So I called Randy and Randy came to Idaho. And that was the start of how I got here, truly. Randy was my 5th husband. I wish I was never married. I think this God's way of finally saying, Sheila, you've played enough and it's time to, they say that he doesn't punish, but I believe that this was my punishment for everything that I've done through the years. Most of the people I didn't care about, Shane was my biggest heartache. I needed to make that right. I came clean to my daughter. I came clean to all of my family. Shane knew the whole story. I think I tend to give Hannah a little more attention because of what I did, and it's like I'm trying to make up for that. I don't know. So I met Randy, came to Idaho. I knew right away that it was not good. I lost everything, and it's okay. It's okay. Randy moved in. I learned very quickly. Now, you'd think that how does a woman who was raised in an abusive home, who spent 14 years in law enforcement, counseling, holding the hands to ladies that won't leave these abusive men. And then I find myself right there. Unless you've been there, you really don't know how to explain. You lose your identity. You truly do. You become almost like a zombie. You just wake up and it's just another day. It's just another day, and what does he want me to do for the kids? If this wasn't cooked right, if that was wrong, if he demanded sex every night, and it was not good. It just became a chore, and every day I thought to myself, I have talked to women like this. Why am I losing myself? Why can't I find the strength to get out of this? Why? And in 2018, meanwhile, now Shane is aware of what's going on, and so Shane has retained a very good attorney, because I am now to the point that, this home, this East Idaho has always been my home. I built my reputation here. I thought I had a good reputation here in law enforcement. The private stuff nobody knew about, I was a good cop. I was a good friend. By the time that I left, I was done being a cop, and I had gone to school to be a nurse, met many friends in nursing school, and during my recent nursing jobs, amazing people. I don't know, it's very hard to explain that. When you lose all that, I had no sense of identity. I was ducking my head. I didn't want other cops to see me, because now I had divorced a cop who had told everybody in the office, the sheriff's office, that I yet again cheated, because I am a cheater, and so I have that reputation following me now, and custody battle against Shane got harder. And I lost. And so I left. I left Idaho. I left my daughter with Shane. Went to Illinois. I started raising a handful of his children with no respect. I've never been in a lifestyle like that. I spent 2 solid years, from 18 to 20, till April of 2020. I didn't talk much. I didn't want to upset him. I had this fear that he was going to kill me in the middle of the night, because he always made threats. I remember he used to tell me that I had to get over my fear of somebody put their hands on my neck. So he would make me practice. How long can I go with his hands on my neck without me freaking out? Because he thought that I needed to get past it. It wasn't like he was choking me, he just put some pressure there and tell me that I could just deal with it, So he convinced me that he was helping me get over some of my problems. And in my mind, I thought, I just feel so much more under his control, and I can't get away, and you know what I mean? And 2020, January 3rd, my mom was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. During that same time frame, I was told that I had a big tumor in my left lung. That Randy at that time said that they're lying to you, they just want your money and they just want to see you naked, and it was just weird. So I got no support from Randy. He was somewhat supportive when I told him that Mom was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, and by April he told me that I could go visit my mom. So her birthday is April 9th, so I had made a plan to go visit my mom. And a couple weeks before that, I had called here to my second daughter. Her name's Coral. She's 24. Now, mind you, I had nothing. Okay, let me take. I went from vacationing 2 or 3 times a year, nice vehicles, food in my house, a little money to spend, to play with, and I went from that to this man was not a worker. He drained my savings account. My car got repoed because he did not want me to work, so I was not working, and he promised to pay the bills, and he did not. Nothing was in his name. 3 credit cards that we got in my name because he didn't have any credit, maxed out. He has no responsibility for it. So April of 2020, when I called my daughter and I said, if I call you, just tell me how long it would take for you to make it happen if I can get away. And she said, Mom, I'll have the money tomorrow. Because I just didn't know, what her finances. She said, I don't care. I'll have the money. If you're ready, you just gotta call. I'll be on the road tomorrow. I said, okay, well, hang tight, it was already there, it was in my mind. I'm like, I can't live like this anymore. I spent my days putting his children, dressing his children, sending them off to school, and then I sat in the basement and smoked marijuana all day. All day. Just completely baked out of my mind. It's the only way to get through the day, And then the brats came back at 3. I had to help them with their homework and, very disrespectful. He believes that the woman is supposed to serve and clean up after the children as well as the husband. So the children they did not clean up after themselves. So I was like Cinderella, truly. I felt so many times like Cinderella, like, what am I here for? Why am I here? And I had nobody there, I left Idaho because I lost the last thing I was holding on to, and that was, the custody battle with Hannah. Like, I had nothing to go back to. I'd go to bed at night and pray for death. I knew enough that I knew that suicide was not an option because, but at that point, as much knowledge as I had of the Bible, which was very little, I thought that you never got the opportunity to ask for forgiveness if you kill yourself. So killing yourself was a direct line to hell, so you couldn't do that. You couldn't kill yourself. But nothing said I couldn't pray for it. And every night, I don't know, probably for a year, I just prayed, God, just let me fall asleep, not wake up. And I don't know. I think everything happened. Obviously, God had a play in it. He's like, it's not your time, sweetheart. Got to, Randy allowed me to go see my mom in April. He was driving a work vehicle. We didn't have a vehicle because mine had been repoed for non-payment. So I used his mother's car, and I drove 13 hours north to North Dakota to see my mom. He had a big, big issue with being apart. And so, I mean, I don't think he enjoyed me by his side. I think it was a control. So anytime I was not with him, you know, he was always calling, saying, don't you care about me? You know, you're ruining your family, and, you know, you need to come home, and I don't care if you're with your mom, you still need to reach out and call me. And so I anticipated the fight. I knew it was coming, and I got about halfway to North Dakota, and he started calling and griping at me, and like, it's okay, whatever, I'm gonna go see my mom. I got other stuff on my mind. I got up there to see my mom, and she said, what happened to you? And that's all it took. You know, she's like, I want baby back. The next phone call I got, I told him that he could go to hell, that I'll be home when I get home, and when I get there, I'm gonna collect my things and I'm leaving. And I'm not even kidding you, that was like the start of a whole new life. Stayed at my mom's house for a couple extra days. Coral came to North Dakota from Idaho in a rental van. She followed me to Illinois. We pulled into town about 6:50, and we left town about 7:45. And whatever we could fit in the van was in the van, and that was it. And I had $8 to my name, and living off my 24-year-old. And I was a very proud person, and I'd lost it all. So I get back here. And dear sweet Shane, he truly is the Savior. Shane started, you know, talking to me about redeemed. I had started reading the Bible before I left Illinois because I had nothing else left, and that's what I turned to. Like, you know, something has got to give. So I, every night when I'd go to bed, I'd put some earplugs in, and I would listen to and read the Bible. And I only got partway through Genesis, and I didn't understand it. I mean, I was trying, but it just made me feel good. I'd go to bed at night, and it was like, you know, I don't have that feeling inside that, you know, my world is coming down. I remember talking to Randy a couple times about how much nasty hate and debauchery, and I had no idea the Old Testament had all this stuff in it. You know, it was like, this is, but he was like, well, see, so Randy always, he was like a chameleon. He told me from the very beginning that he was a God lover. He was born and raised that way. You know, you don't use the GD word. Matter of fact, he got upset with me because I used it fluently. That's how I was raised. I had no idea it was wrong. And he told me, you know, that's not, you can't say that. I've never said that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know, For you knowing all this stuff about the Bible and about the Lord, why don't you go to church? Why don't you, because in the same sense, he'd be talking about how he'd like to take, he would like to take somebody out, and he would be very detailed about how he would like to kill somebody. And so I'm like, I don't understand this person. So when I got back, I continued a little bit with the Bible, and then I started asking Shane some questions, and still had a tumor in my lung. Spent a few months with my daughter, and then I got my own place. I have to tell you guys, it is completely, God got me back to Idaho, okay? I know God got me back to Idaho, because truly I wanted to die. I just wanted to disappear. God put Shane back in front of me, because Lord knows that he has every right not to be a part of my life, or a part of Hannah's. Not only did he put Shane in front of me, but Shane was pushy enough that it was almost like, oh my gosh, I just have to do this to make Shane happy, And then I did it, and then I come to group. I think that, didn't Joan and Susan pray over me before I ever came to Redeemed?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't remember when I first came to Redeemed.
I can say that I had been praying for you since the first minute I met Hannah.
And
every day for 6 years.
A lot of people, I don't know. I do know that there's a lot of people in this community that Shane has confided in through the years. I did feel like an outcast, and there was some definite...
At Redeemed?
Not at Redeemed, no. With the school and with the church, and I think most of that, there was a touch with the school through the years that was realistic. The rest of that, I think, is my own heart that was... I see that. So I got back here. I had told myself I will never, after I left my first daughter, or sent her back to her dad, and it was like 3 months. I mean, it was not that long where I couldn't take it. But I said, I'll never do that again. And I let a man take me away from my children. And he would use, that the man is the man of the house. The Bible says you obey your husband.
Mm-hmm.
That you love your husband more than your children. That you love God more than you love your husband. And children, they do come last, and like, well, that's not how I feel. And I did not like that I was raising his children and not getting to see mine. And I came back, and I put Hannah through hell too, So Randy kind of blew off the tumor thing in the lung. I was not getting better. I was struggling to breathe. Went and saw a doctor here. Was not going to church yet. I think I maybe popped in 2 or 3 times and hid in the back. Everybody sat in the back, right? I mean, when you first, I was just like, man, I kind of want to be here. And then you sit in the back, and then you sob and sob and sob, because you know that feeling, and you don't understand it, but you know it's there. That is the feeling. Anyway, so I asked Shane, I was going to have surgery on the tumor on my lung. I asked Shane if he'd come pray for me. He asked if he could bring some friends, because, more is better. He brought Joan and Susan. I'd never met either one. I sat on a footstool in the living room and put their hands on me. I wish I could share that feeling with everybody. I'm not even kidding you. I just felt inside, I don't know, this amazingly beautiful, the feeling. Next day I had surgery. Doctor said, it's not a tumor, it's an extra lobe that's just been hanging out there since, well, that's not true because it would have caused problems as a child, but it was then that I'm like, this is God. This is God. Something has fixed this thing in my lung. Something of a supernatural being that I never put much faith in at all. You know, I truly hadn't. If I admit that there's a God, then I'm going to have to admit that I'm a failure and that I'm a sinner and that I'd have to admit all these things that I've done wrong all my life. But it just happened. I don't know. My non-believing adult daughter was even crying. So I know something happened with her. Had surgery, everything went well, healed fairly quick, only took a couple weeks off of work. Came to Redeemed. You guys are so powerful in so many ways. Truly, every one of you have such a special gift, and I had no idea that I could be around such loving people and not drink and not smoke weed, not swear, and you could have fun. You know, you could truly enjoy yourself without all that bad stuff that goes with it. So you guys have truly been my saviors. Was it? Sorry, that was in 19, wasn't it? It was in 19 that I came home because it was 2020, January 16th of 2020 when I got rebaptized. I had been baptized as a child.
2021. You came home
Oh
during
yeah, it is.
COVID.
You're right, okay. Yeah, because it's still 21. Okay, so in 2021, just this past January.
Yep. I was there bawling like a baby.
Yeah, you guys, it was the most amazing thing ever. And I don't know why. I
know why.
Other than
Because it was the perfect picture of Jesus' forgiveness, because there's her ex-husband and Hannah's daddy baptizing Sheila, and having seen a small piece of it all and been praying for so long.
Yeah. I didn't want anybody but Shane to baptize me. Shane and I have been very hard on each other through the years. I don't think that it was not meant to be a competition, but he could have never hurt me as hard as I've hurt him, and I'm not proud of that at all. But it's very important that people see that we all make mistakes. I am not proud of not a single one of those marriages I'm not proud of, except Shane's. That was a good marriage. I hate that it took me into my 40s to realize what a relationship is supposed to be like. You know, if you're raised, I don't understand. You know, I've met so many people, it's like, oh, my mom and dad have been married their whole life, born and raised in the same house. It's like, that is complete, and makes no sense to me at all. None. I don't understand what that would be like. I wanted it. Obviously, that's not the path I took. And I'm not proud of anything that I have done, and people can take what I tell them and they can talk trash, and I don't care, because you know what? This doesn't change. God loves me, and I think that now, you know, since, I don't know, it probably happened before January, but I like to use my baptism because that moment was so, like you said, it was so monumental.
Huge.
How I could go, you know, just from such a crappy childhood into this ungodly, teenage years of lots of just naughty, debauchery, bad stuff. And I think, you know, I really feel like he has forgiven me. You know, I don't hold those things. I cry because my heart hurts for those that I've hurt. I deserve whatever comes. I get that. I do. I pray that now, you know, and even through the years, Sheila and I have always tried to maintain an open parenting plan. We talk openly. We went camping. It was amazing. And we shared the Lord. He is such a good teacher, too.
True.
And I don't know, I think that God is saying, like, I'm going to do this. I just feel like Shane and I have a story that we need to tell because nobody would believe. They're like, Shane, you're stupid. Are you kidding me? After she put you through all that, you're going to be nice to her? I mean, seriously, that is the way that it should have been. You know, he has no reason to be kind to me. Not only did I cheat on him, but his child isn't his.
Because he knows the love of Jesus also.
That is true.
That's why.
That is who has shown me that.
That's the only way.
The mistakes that we can make. Let me tell you what. I've had that feeling. You know, when you go to church and you sit in the very back and all of a sudden you find yourself crying. I've had that a time or two through the years. I didn't know what it was. Like, is that guilt? What is that? What? You know? And now it's like the most amazing feeling. You know, it's the Holy Spirit is telling you, you know, I got you, sis. It's okay. It's okay. You are a wreck. It's okay. You are that lady at the well. But I can tell you there's something better out there. And truly, this past year has been nothing but blessing. Shane has been so good to me, and you guys have all been so good to me. I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes.
So do we all.
Yeah. And now I'm not, when I make that mistake, I know it immediately, and I sit down and I say, Father God, we gotta fix this. And I didn't know how to do that before.
Mm-hmm.
I have had more full nights of sleep with the Lord in my pocket. I will tell you all too, I know we don't do New Year's, but remember, if those of you were here at New Year's when we made those resolutions, I am so close to being done with the Bible.
I was going to say, you were going to go through the Bible in a year.
I'm there, sister. I'm so close.
I'm so proud of you.
It. And it's like a story. And who could have ever known that the Bible could have been such a beautiful love story about brothers and sisters and husbands and wives and fathers. And I mean, it's just an amazing story. So that is, I can't imagine, you know, I have that, what is that? That feeling you have when you do wrong and you know it's
Conviction.
Wrong. Conviction. It is there.
That's the Holy Spirit working.
Yeah. And never before, you know, I thought that God put me in Illinois, because that was it. That's just how I was going to end. You know, shame on you. You say you want to be all these things, but you didn't do anything of that properly from day one.
That's condemnation, and that's from the enemy. Let me tell you, conviction and condemnation are two different things.
Yeah.
So Sheila, some of us are going to go ahead and go to church. Thank you so much for
So
sharing.
sorry. You're welcome.
Sharing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really, I'm sure, very difficult for you. That was a lot to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're